Oh, you.
Good evening. Welcome to the June 4th, 2024 Public Work Session. This is Joseph Cilio, President of the Board of Education speaking. Thank you for attending in person or through Zoom. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States Republic, for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do notice that today's meeting has been served to all members of the Board of Education pursuant to the requirements of law. Tina, will you please take attendance? Present.
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 Present. Shannon DeCapua, Superintendent of Business and Finance. Present. Amy McLaughlin, Superintendent.
Present. Present.
I guess now we're going to move to the discussion with the recent Garden City graduates. Dr. Sinha?
Just our students here. So first of all, this is probably a special treat for all of us to see our alums come back and share some of their experiences with the Board of Education. And really our focus is the board is going to ask our students questions around how well we prepared you for college. That's been a focus for the Board of Education, and they had asked that we bring some of our alums back, and so you can share with us. So I am really, really happy to see all of you. I think it's a highlight for us, and you guys have grown a lot. I have to tell you, grown a lot since you left us last. So we're really pleased that you're here. What I would love is for you all to introduce yourselves and, where you're currently attending and what year you graduated. So I'm going to give the microphone over. And then I think our board members will ask questions. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ryan. I graduated in 2021 and I'm currently going into my senior year at Washington University in St. Louis.
Hi, my name is Andrew. I go to Villanova. I finished my freshman year and I graduated last year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jack LaSala. I graduated in 2020 from Garden City, and now I just currently this past May graduated from High Point University.
Hey, I'm Brendan Subb. I graduated in 2022 and I currently go to Cornell.
You can keep it down there.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Amanda Panu. I graduated last year. I'm currently attending Villanova University and I just finished my first year.
I'm Samantha LaSala. I graduated last year and I go to High Point University.
Hi, I'm Ryan Michelle. I graduated here in 2020 and I graduated recently from Fairfield in 2024.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll have our board members ask some questions.
Well, thank you all for joining tonight. I know you're volunteering your time. I know you'd rather be in some other place, but I think the school misses you, so we want to hear all about your experiences. And so we'll start off with some easy questions, and you can go around the room and just answer if you like. First of all, the first question is, what major did you pick, and was there any teacher or class that was instrumental in you picking your major? We'll start with the ladies on the left here. Samantha or Amanda?
Hi, I am Amanda again. I'm a nursing major at Villanova, so I'm really into science and like the STEM field and healthcare, hospitality. A person who really influenced me was Mr. Esposito, AP Bio. It was a very hard class and it was a very tough decision for me to do it. But I was really proud of myself that I took that class because it was challenging and my grades shown that it was challenging. But then once I went to college, I couldn't thank Garden City enough because I just excelled with A's in all my anatomy and bio And I just look back to high school. I'm like, how did I not do so well in high school? But I emailed Mr. Esposito and I just said, thank you so much. And whatever you did to push me so hard has helped me so much in college. And I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for him. So.
Thank you. Samantha?
Okay. So my major is event management, and there's not like a ton of classes, obviously in high school, that like teaches you for that. But I did take it, like kind of goes with it. I took like a fashion class, and that was really fun. And I feel like we like planned things and did things. So I feel like that was a good class for my major.
Shift to Ryan Michael from Fairfield right now.
So I graduated with a undergraduate in psychology and hopefully going to grad school for school counseling. And ultimately, I would say my guidance counselor, Miss Kennedy, has had the greatest influence on me. She was there every step of the way since freshman year. And I had the pleasure to keep in touch with her all 4 years of my college career.
We'll shift over to Ryan Padala.
So I have a double major in finance and math plus computer science. And surprisingly, I chose the finance one first, but I didn't really involve myself in too many business classes here. But in terms of the math plus computer science major that I did, I really found myself being inspired by Dr. Slater's AP Physics class. Specifically that one, because that was the first time where I was like, wow, I'm not smart enough for this. And I kind of fell in love with that. Finding something I'm not smart enough for and putting my everything into it until I could figure out a way to succeed in it while still knowing that I couldn't touch the surface of what this field of study is. And the only place that I can find that is math, really. I mean, I'm sure if I did a physics major, I would have felt that even more, but I really just fell in love with math in that specific area. And that's something that I've loved to continue to do in college. And I've also found that the math department sort of helped me get that. I would say that the math department here helped me get the tools to be able to do that, because unless you know calculus and all that stuff, you don't realize how hard math is. And that's why I find it so cool how I really got the foundation to be able to dive right into high level math classes in college right away, instead of having to take those introductory calculus classes in college. And that's something I'm really grateful for.
Thank you. Andrew Panu.
For me, I'm a nursing major. So one thing I would agree with Amanda on is Dr. Esposito. He was definitely very instrumental in like helping me succeed, because when you're taking like anatomy and physiology 2, and getting ready to take microbiology and all those hard nursing courses, I feel like he lets you know that these like courses are very hard. And I feel like one of the classes I've taken in high school that like modeled a college class would be that class. And I feel like that he gave you like the instruments to succeed by telling you like study ways and stuff like that, and letting you know that it is hard, but when like you put your mind to something, you'll succeed. So I definitely feel like that agreeing with Amanda, like getting good grades in college and getting A's is like really instrumental. Like definitely take like those AP courses and stuff that you're interested in, like whether it'll be science, English, whatever, and like you will succeed.
And we have our veteran Jack LaSala coming back. You've been here a few months back, so share.
Of course. So I think for me, so I just graduated with BSBA in finance, 3 majors, 3 minors in finance, marketing, international business, 3 minors in Spanish, sales, and theater. I think for me, it was Mr. Bolello, because I originally wanted to do video game design before I went into college. And then right before I went into High Point, I switched it to finance. And so for me, Mr. Bolello had taught a video game marketing class where you got to make the video games and then you got to market them as well. So it was a business and video game class. So for me, I really felt like I was able to get both sides of that. And then after I'd switched to finance, you know, in that business side, even with marketing, I had marketing later on in college. I felt like that had helped me so much through that process of the change from video game design to finance and that business track. And so for me, I felt like it was really beneficial. He also let me keep the book, so I can go back and make those video games over again. And he reminds me of that, so it's really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm an applied economics and management major with a concentration in finance. And I think, you know, I didn't really take any of the business classes here, but I think the math department was huge in setting me up, you know, to be successful there. And then the other big thing that I think no one else has highlighted is I think the English department deserves a lot of credit. I've recognized in classes I've taken so far in my first 2 years, I think I have the tools to communicate better and more clearly in a lot of written assignments, and then also, speaking ones as well. And I credit a lot of that to, the English teachers I've had in my time here, specifically Ms. Ferriolo and Mr. Rebellini.
Thank you. So we're going to ask some more questions. Anyone can take this question if you have an answer or share your insight. Do you feel you were socially prepared for college? Any experiences, any thoughts to that? Amanda Panu.
Oh, you want to go first? No. Okay. I actually think I was, but I think it's also because I feel like I'm a very extroverted and outgoing personality, so it's very easy for me to adapt into any environment that I put in. But I think in college, if you're going into, like, everyone's going into a new environment, no matter where you're going, close or far, no matter what personality you have, whether it's extroverted or introverted, I think you find your group your first year. Even if it's not your first year, your second year, I think you adapt eventually. So I think socially it was hard at first, as it's hard for any college freshman. You're in a new place and it's extremely scary. I was lucky to have my brother in college, but I know some people go to different colleges and family members split apart. So I don't think it's an advantage if you know someone going into college or if you don't, but I think eventually you adapt, and that's the point I'm trying to get across, because you find certain groups that you want to be a part of, whether it's clubs or sports or academic groups, and everyone's in the same boat socially. No one knows more than 10 people going to that college, if you know even some faces or know some names, but everyone's in the same boat. Everyone wants to make friends. And it's hard at first for everyone, but everyone falls into place eventually. So it's my advice.
Yeah, I would say I felt like Garden City prepared me socially. I think the biggest thing when you're first getting to college is, do you feel comfortable being in different kinds of groups than you've been in for your entire life? Do you feel comfortable with different people than you've been with for your whole life? And I always felt like, at least here, I was put in enough different situations where I learned how to do that. Whether it was different classes I was taking or different teams I was on, or, however you got into a situation with a group of people you didn't necessarily know, or you didn't have everything in common with. I think that's one of the biggest things. And I think that I definitely, got exposed to that and learned how to do that in my time here.
Jack?
Yeah. So I think I didn't have a million friends in high school. I mean, I'll go off of that. But I think I was socially prepared for going into college. I immediately had friends through the track team, which was really nice. But I wanted more. It was that hunger for a network, a bigger network. And so I really wanted to branch out. I joined a business fraternity. I joined a social fraternity on campus. I made sure that I was getting out there as much as possible, joining clubs, just making as many friends as I can on campus so that you can have that network for when you leave campus and you go out into the business world. And so you can really, you can keep that later on going forward, which was really nice. But I'd say going into college, I had that group with the track team, but then I wanted to branch out even more and make even more of a network. So,
Andrew?
For me, what I realized is that, like, it's not said enough that, like, college is like a blank slate. So like whatever you were marked in as the past, or like certain things like that, it's like a way that you could find your own identity and like pursue what you want to do. And I feel like everyone's in the same boat when you go to college, that everyone wants to make friends or like find out what they want to do. So I feel like it's like one of those like obstacles that everyone has to go through, whether they talk about it or not, that it's like finding those group of friends that you can depend on. But also, like, college is like what you make out of it. So whatever you want it to be, you can make it be. So like if you just want to focus on academics and maybe not go into like all the social things, you could do that. But like definitely, like, I know that fraternities are very good, or like certain clubs or like club sports are really good for meeting people. So really focus on like what you're passionate about, and like everything else will like fall into place.
So you touched on something. So without naming names, are you aware of any Garden City High School graduates that maybe have struggled in college? And If so, do you believe any of these struggles could have been identified? Can the administration help in the future? What are your thoughts on that?
I'll just start. But I think that Garden City, like with the counseling center and like the guidance department, does a really great job in like identifying these things and providing like a safe space for people's needs to be like heard. I feel like breaking that stigma of mental health and certain struggles or social situations here has definitely like proven great opportunities for college. So when someone's struggling and needs help, like guidance and the counseling services are free there. So I feel like it's a great place that people can fix what they need to like talk about and stuff like that. And I feel like breaking that stigma here has like I would say from what I encounter in college, there's like zero stigma towards mental health. So I feel like it's very like knowledgeable, like since after COVID and stuff, that like people, it's normal to speak to someone or get some help.
I feel like people that I've like heard I honestly heard like through the grapevine or whatever that may not have had their best experience starting out in college. I often find those to be the people that I always found to be a little bit exclusionary in high school, in a way that they would stick to their friends and they wouldn't really want to get to know the people they don't know, as opposed to trying to branch out and meet new people in their class throughout their entire time here. And I think that once they get into a new place where they don't have that built-in circle, often they can feel alone and not necessarily learn how to be inclusionary right away. So I think that the ability to feel an urge to include other people and get to know more people is something that will help people in college, because they have that ease with transition into new groups and new social scenarios that doesn't have their circle of safety right next to them. That might be their high school buddies or whatever it may be.
Samantha?
Yeah, so I feel like for my experience, like going into college is like a whole new experience. And like I went pretty far. I went to North Carolina. So I always say, and like even I would like call my mom and talk about this, like always like give it a full year, because I feel like a lot of people transferred out very quickly. And like, I didn't find like my group of friends, like my good group of friends, until second semester, I feel like. And like I got more involved in like Greek life, and like I just had a better experience. So like I would say like if anyone's struggling in college, to just give it the full year, because it like if I would have like transferred my first semester, I wouldn't have had like such a great year, or like second semester. I'm sorry.
I'm going to pass the mic to fellow trustee Janeco next.
Hi, good evening. Thank you again for, fielding these questions. I have a question, I guess, based around AP classes. Mr. Steingrubner fielded questions around a certain AP exam where he was encouraging kids to take AP classes here because he felt comfortable, and I think it's a wonderful practice to give students exposure here. So the question that I have is based on the AP classes and the exposure that for those of you that did take AP classes that you did experience while taking these classes, how did that really, or did it at all, guide you in college? Or I know that we kind of touched upon it a little bit with certain classes that were going on, but just specifically that entire, not so much the content, but the actual practice of the advanced placement classes, the rigor of the class. How did that or didn't provide that exposure for you in college?
So I felt like there were a couple connections that were between the AP and actual college courses. And one is that it was mostly condensed into like a small time frame, where if you were to miss a day of school or anything, the class would just go on without you. And we did have teachers that were so caring and so outgoing that, if you reached out to them, they would definitely help you. But if you didn't really give a hint, like say like, oh, don't really know what I missed. They'll just think that you're okay and that you're understanding what's going on. But also I would say that, like a lot of it, like I took AP Psych with Mr. Highfield, and that was very similar to the psych classes I took, where a lot of it consisted of daily quizzes or, textbook readings that were very reflective on the tests. And, I think that was definitely very reflective of the AP final / what I received on my final exams at the end of the year.
I would say like the AP classes really help because like if you succeed on the exams, you gotta get out of the gen ed courses. Like I know I got out of like a lot of gen ed courses, and then I'm ahead of like the nursing curriculum for me because it's usually like it's usually sorry. It's usually like set in stone for some majors that you have to take these certain classes. And I feel like APs also help with like time management, learning how to adapt to new environments. I feel like AP has that rigor, but also at the same time, taking some AP courses that you're not really interested in is really good to like discover what you want to do and stuff. Because in college, you're gonna have to take a class because it's part of your track like record, but like taking different like AP English, AP social sciences and stuff like that, it gives you an opportunity to succeed in college and get ahead of like the curriculum, but also at the same time lets you delve into like more stuff that you want to learn about. So I think it's like a really great opportunity if talking to your guidance counselor, wanting to do APs. I think it's a great idea.
I entirely agree that it's a very good idea to take AP classes. I've found college classes to be very similar in rigor to AP classes. I've told this to my mom multiple times, and I still stand by it. My senior year in high school was harder than most of my semesters in college so far, because I think that APs are relatively comparable to college classes. I was taking 8 senior year and 5 every semester of college. I think that they show you what it requires in order to dive deep into something, because you usually can't, slide through and, just figure it out the night before and, get your way through really easily. Or if you can, it'll take that whole night, which means that you're going to fall 2 days behind on the other classes, which then you have to follow back on. It really was a microcosm of what college has been like for me, and I couldn't recommend it more to try to get as many AP classes under your belt as possible, because it really prepares you for how to succeed in college classes and succeed with the rigor of taking multiple college classes at a time.
I'm sorry, just to, I guess, kind of build upon that. Was there, because considering you had, I guess, quite a portfolio of AP, when you took the AP and then you were like, yeah, this is not for me. This is not going to be my career path, or this is not something, that maybe you had in mind to say, I wanted to do X, and then you had taken a class and it kind of like wiped, you were able to knock it off. Did you experience something like that?
Sort of. In general, I feel like I'm kind of a person that's like, I like this, and then I like this more. So I kind of just liked the ones that I liked most and kind of went with those. There were definitely classes that I didn't love. I'll be honest, you can give me the greatest writing teacher in the world. I don't like writing that much. I enjoy it sometimes when I get to know what I'm writing about, but that's the kind of thing where I knew kind of just based on what my.
You already said you're a math guy, dude. You got me. I'm with you. I'm with you. You don't have to trash the writing. Crashing it definitely helps, but I'm with you.
I'll say I had great experiences in the English department here. They took a non-writer and made me enjoy it. So good for them.
Trustee O'Donoghue?
Thank you, Audie. I have 2 kids in college, some of them who went with some of you and in high school. One of the reasons I think the teachers are great in Garden City. I say this all the time. And through nothing to do with me. They're just great. My kids have had the best teachers. But I also think Garden City has a huge family support. I think part of the success in this district is your families. The sandwich box always drove me crazy, but most of us up here, excluding Joe, when you forgot your lunch, you went hungry. But sandwich box aside, the family support here is very good. Did you find any challenges being away from your family while you're at school? Was there always a shoulder to lean on or somebody to help you out? Was there any challenges to be away from that support system?
I fortunately did not have any challenges because I had my brother, but literally maybe that's the case of 2 kids in your class graduating. So I was the lucky one to have him. But I would say even having him there, like I know that's like the best alternative to have your family with you at school far away. I don't think I saw him as much as I thought I would. I think we both branched out way much to the point where I find myself texting him after a week saying, "Hey, do you want to get some food? Like I haven't seen you." So I don't think, of course, we're in the same major and we have the same classes, so it does account for seeing him. But I think you eventually find a routine, and I think that's the most important part to being away from your family, because all you do is you go to school, you go to high school, and you come home, you see mom, dad, whoever it is, siblings, pets. But I think going to college and finding a routine, I know I spoke to some of my friends who are also twins at my school and went away with their siblings or even older or younger siblings. And they said the best thing for them was finding a routine, calling them maybe once a week, a couple times a week, text, see how it is, send a picture. Hey, mom, dad, I'm doing great. But I think finding a routine is my best piece of advice to establishing a family network, because eventually you're going to meet friends who feel like you all just cling on to each other because it's that family support, your friends. But I think establishing a routine is more important, just to make yourself feel like you're at home, because you all have a routine here and it's different when you go away.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the family support is definitely different in Garden City. I've noticed that with, meeting people from other places. And I think, routine's huge. And I think the other one is finding a group of people who almost kind of replicate what you get from your family. I mean, they're not going to be your family, but if you could find a group of people that you could share a lot of things with, you spend a lot of time with, you do the same things as, that really starts to feel a little bit like your family. And whether that's, in my case, it was a sports team, it could be a fraternity, it could be a club, it could be just people and you hang out with a lot. I think a lot of people overlook how much being alone can really tear on your psyche. So I think, finding a group of people, even if it's not super easy at first, just making as many friends as you can, kind of eases the stress of being away from the people you've been with your entire life.
And going off of that, so in my freshman year, before I started, in high school, when I was looking at High Point University, I knew that it was going to be a change because it was so far away from home. But I said, this is going to be good for me because I knew I was going to be very homesick. But I said to myself, I need to challenge myself. I need to do this for myself. And I did go away, and it was the COVID year, and it was extremely, I was extremely homesick. Obviously I had the track team. It was okay. But it was wake up, go to school, go to track, go to sleep. I mean, it was just a rigorous schedule, especially with, just everything that I had going on, wanting to do well in school, wanting to do well in track, wanting to impress the coach, especially as a freshman. It was, I'd say it was definitely very, it took a lot, as Brendan said, on my psyche during my freshman year. And then when the mask mandate was lifted, at least in North Carolina, my college, in sophomore year, that was when I started to join the business fraternity and the social fraternity. And that's when I started to really reach out. But for that first year and a half, it was mostly just me with the track team, which was really good because I still had my family, but it was throughout that COVID experience, which was really, really nice.
Sorry. I think it was very hard leaving home for me. I never went to sleepaway camp. Like I never wanted to be away from home. I like barely went to sleepovers. Like I would have to leave early. But I had my brother there my freshman year, so that gave me like peace of mind. But it is hard to go away, but then like I joined my sorority, and you have like a sorority family, you get like a big sister, and she's great. I have like a twin, and they're all so sweet. And it kind of, because of that, I feel like it was like gaining a new family. But I took all like my values from home and I implemented them into college. So, and my mom visited a lot, so that was also good.
Maybe I'll jump in with a couple of quick questions. I know we talked about preparation for college. What did you learn in high school, or whether it was social, classroom work, networking, that prepared you for college? I know we talked a little bit about AP, but anything on reflection of going through a couple of years of college or graduating where you're like, the time you didn't think it was helping, but upon reflection, it's helped you, and you think other people should be aware of it or should be focusing on it as they go through high school?
I would definitely say the guidance department really helped me because I feel like it's a great thing to learn your major and what you want to do, what colleges you want to apply to. Because at least for me, like the guidance department at Villanova is not all of that. I feel like for nursing, I mean, I could speak on this, but it's kind of more like at college, you're more of an independent person. You're doing your own things. You're setting your own records and stuff. Although you have those friends, like the idea of success is up to you. I feel like Garden City creating those like mentality of success and having those goals in mind and creating that goal-minded mindset, like I feel like that really helped me because I feel like Garden City really helped me to succeed in college, I would say.
So for me, I feel like the English department really helped me because we did a lot of like Socratic seminars, which helped like with public speaking, and like because I feel like in college that's kind of what you do, like in classes, like it's almost like a Socratic seminar and you just like go around and share your input, and like even like them saying like, oh, do the reading and like come back and then you have to talk about it. Like you actually have to do your reading, because if you don't do your readings in college, like you're gonna like look dumb because you don't know what you're talking about. Do you want to go ahead? Okay. A social skill that something socially that I learned. Well, my dad taught me this, but talk to everyone, like actually talk to everyone. I used to make fun of him all my life for this. Like he would literally talk to a random guy in Dunkin' Donuts or something, and I would say, "Why are you doing that? You're embarrassing me." But I think that was the best life skill that I learned. I met some of my best friends at a basketball game just because I spoke to them or I reached out to them on Instagram. They're here to support me now. I spoke to one teacher who I didn't even know was like going to be my big in my sorority. That was her mom, and I just got close with her really fast. Also talk to your professors, because in Garden City it was really easy to establish a relationship with your teachers. Everyone is so caring here. It's the easiest thing, but you go to a lecture hall of 150 students and you're freaking out because you don't think you have a personal relationship with your professor. So actually talk to everyone, talk to your professor. You'll never know. He or she could be writing a rec for you one day. I know I need it to continue my career. And I became super close with my anatomy teacher because of that. But yeah, that would be my best piece of advice.
Thank you for that compliment, Amanda. I'll pay you later. So, go ahead.
I would say that I'll be very quick. I would say that something that I've really noticed a lot in the past few years in college is the excellence that comes from Garden City. I'd say some of the most impressive people that I've met in my life are from Garden City. Some of the smartest people I've met in my life are from Garden City. I really think that there's such a level of excellence that everybody's held to here that is so impressive and so inspiring, such that everybody around that excellence also strives towards excellence. And so coming into college, my bar through living around excellence for the first 18 years of my life was excellence. And I found that a lot of people around me were like, oh, I'll just get a C, it's okay. And I was like, it used to being like, oh, like I got a B, but like I'm never gonna let it happen again type of energy that everybody always fought for and had within Garden City. And I feel like that excellence is like just tied within the culture of Garden City in a way that's really helped me continue to try to strive in life. And I found that to be very helpful.
Building off of that real quick, the thing that's correlated with that is I think one thing I learned how to do here is care about things and show interest and like actually work hard towards something and then hopefully be rewarded for it. So I think that's why that's the case. The excellence you talk about is like in high school, I didn't ever feel like I shouldn't care about what I was doing. I always felt like the general culture
whether it was school or also a lot of athletically, was to really try as hard as you could and then hopefully be rewarded for it. So, I think that's what ultimately causes that culture of excellence that you see. I would also kind of go off about the guidance department, and that when I started here at Garden City High School, I took 3 honors classes, and I remember I really struggled, had to drop out of, I believe, all of them. And I remember meeting with my guidance counselor and her telling me that, like the main thing is time management and organization, and kind of the workload that I learned through the 4 years here way back when. But it really helped me throughout all my 4 years in college, where, like I would be given the syllabus, I would like look through it. It had all the dates and everything that the assignments and tests were due. And, like through this, I was able to find like good websites that I was able to put these into a calendar, or like, like make a Quizlet, or just find new study methods that ultimately helped me succeed and make it to the place that I am today.
Maybe I'll ask one question that's going to be critical, or at least asking you to be openly critical for help. Is there one thing or something you think that could be done better across whatever you've encountered in Garden City that you think you either underprepared for, or something you wish was better that would help future students as they go through the school system? And be honest.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if this was everyone else who thought this. I personally think the hardest thing I struggled with was a syllabus, and it sounds really dumb, but you come into high school, like I'll never forget, like I walked into Spanish my first day of senior year, and he gave a syllabus, and you look at it once, the homework is to sign it by a parent, and you come in the next day, you show the signature, and you lose it the next day and you never hear from it again or whatever. But I went to my first day of class in college, and they gave a syllabus, and it has test dates and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. He'll mention it the day before. And I come into class and there's a quiz. I'm like, okay. And then I go, you didn't say it. You didn't say there was a quiz like the other day. I know I'm in college. I should be more responsible. And he was like, it's on the syllabus. So then I got a news flash and I was like, oh, so syllabuses are more important than I thought they were. Definitely to have a more, I don't know if you should like change the syllabuses that students get in high school now, but they're way more important than you think they are in college, because they have all the test dates, all the homework dates, all the assignment dates. And high school is very easy. Their homework's written on the board, or they mention the quiz the next day. But it really didn't do me justice when I didn't take its importance more than I should have. So yeah.
I would go off of that, and I agree with that. But I feel like another thing that goes unnoticed is like a hierarchy of power. I feel like in college, when you're having a problem, or if you need to change something with your schedule or with a class, or you need a accommodation, there's a certain way of power that you have to do through administration. Like I'm not really sure on it too well, but there's a certain path that you have to take before you talk to the dean, of course. But like, for example, like some of my friends wanted to email the dean about a problem, and like my professor's like, you can't do that. Like, I feel like certain things in Garden City is that like we're very like lucky to have people that care and stuff. But I feel at the certain time, like you need to learn like what is professional and what you're supposed to do when you have a problem. So definitely like to increase like professionalism and like learn those certain like methods.
And I would just jump in there for a second. Self-advocacy. Mr. Trustee Panu talks about it a lot. I always talk about it at work. Nobody knows what you've got going on. They only hear what they hear from your mouth. So if you don't say it, everybody assumes it's fine around you, whether it's in school, whether it's in the work environment. So speak up, communicate, and be your own, advocate. It's definitely a life tool to have outside of school.
I would say that my response will be specific to the math and science departments in the high school. I would say that in terms of math and science, you can either learn it through memorization or through truly learning and understanding what's going on. You can memorize a formula and put it on a paper, and, depending on how that exam is structured, you can get a perfect score. Or if it's structured in the way that a lot of college classes are structured, you'll still fail no matter how many formulas you memorize. And I found that in the honors and AP classes in the STEM department here, they do an excellent job of forcing you to have to learn it and truly understand what it is you're doing and truly understand what those formulas mean. However, over the past few years, I've been doing a lot of tutoring for high school students, and I find that a lot of the students in the regular classes sometimes are being taught in a way that enforces the memorization. And such that, you know, I'll be going through a problem with them and they'll be like, oh, this acronym. And I'm like, wait, this makes a lot of sense. If you just think about it, don't remember the acronym, remember how this makes sense in the real world. And that's something that I found just that I didn't experience in the honors and AP classes, that I found to be a discrepancy between those two. And I find that that learning and that understanding is so crucial and so important to be able to succeed in college classes, and I think that would need to be, you know, reinforced in all of the levels. You know, obviously with differences, you know, inherently, but that's something that I found to be interesting.
So more application.
Yeah, more application, more understanding focused examination.
And I'll add one more. I know we're constantly on as a board and as an administration trying to figure out what's the next thing. Obviously AI, machine learning, you're learning stuff probably in college that we're not talking about in the business world. Is there anything you've seen that we should be doing or thinking about in terms of adding for extracurriculars or part of the curriculum in general that you think would serve well in college in the future?
So recently my last semester, I interned at Fairfield Prep, and oftentimes, you know, like the subject of AI would come up, and I've done multiple papers in my education courses on, you know, like whether AI is dangerous or helpful to students. And I'm more on the side that it can be really helpful if it's used the right way. And, you know, as the years go on, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So I feel like if we educate our future students in kind of how to use it for their own benefit, like, for example, like I tell my students all the time, like, you know, like you can put your paper in and correct it for grammar or like fluidity, anything. But, you know, like obviously don't use it to cheat on it, like completely write your paper, because, you know, some kids do that and they unfortunately plagiarize. They don't understand the consequences that come with that. So yeah, I just feel like, you know, educating them on basically how to go about using it, because this could be something that could be used in a future profession down the road.
Actually totally agree with that. I think that for me, I remember when I first told my mom this, she was like, "Ryan, that's not allowed." I use ChatGPT every single day in school. Every single day. I use it for not only just my education, but for everything that I do, because it is such a powerful tool if you use it correctly. I'll be going through studying for something and something doesn't make sense to me. So I say, can you explain X concept to me? And they explain it to me, but part of it still doesn't make sense. And I say, that makes sense, but I'm still not sure exactly what you mean by this. Can you expand on that? And they go again. And then I understand. I'm like, awesome. Does this correlate to this thing that's earlier in the chapter? They're like, yes, here's how. And then I have this deep, strong understanding through using AI. And that's something that's really powerful that really should be capitalized on. And I think that a lot of times it can be seen as a threat of cheating, but not as a possibility of learning. And I think that that's something that hopefully can change and will also come with the ability to have preventative measures against the misuse of it, more towards the better use of it.
I would agree with that. Like, I actually have it bookmarked on my computer. You can ask my friends here. I use it every single day. And I really think it's really helpful, because I feel like instead of trying to obliterate it, like if you're going to cheat with ChatGPT, it's going to be obvious the professor is going to know. But if you're using it as a learning method, like Ryan said, it's actually really helpful. Like certain things that I don't understand in like my medical books, and I'll be like, oh, can you explain it this way? Or explain it in like simpler terms, or I'll say dumbed down terms. And it really helps to like learn certain stuff. Yeah. And I feel like in order to use like ChatGPT and stuff, you have to know what to ask them. Because I feel like sort of my friends will use it and they'll be like, oh, I'm not getting a clear explanation. And I'm like, put it in this way, and they'll get the explanation they want. So it's kind of like you have to learn to collaborate with like a robot, but it also helps you collaborate with people in real life, I feel like. So definitely, like, I think of it as a positive approach. It's like the way you use it. It's like a double-edged sword, I would say.
So you touched on something that gave me a thought, which is something I always wonder. You're leaving your home, your friends, your safe space. Can you share any experience, advice for those listening on Zoom and the future students that are going to be graduate? How do you adjust living with a complete stranger, sharing your space, time, and anything else? We need insights on that. And
Sorry. My experience was unfortunately not the best, but I'm not saying this to discourage anything or like name names or a funny story or whatever. Personally, it's really hard to branch out in school, and I think one of the first people that you cling on is the roommate or the quad or whoever you're living with or whatever. But my biggest piece of advice is try to meet your roommate. I know it's impossible for some colleges. You have to go random, or maybe that's good. I mean, I know a lot of my friends went random and it was just a great turnout for them. They're best friends to this day. I'm best friends with them. But I think I don't want to give like a statistic, but through the people that I've met, meeting your roommate prior is way more helpful. And this could be in person. And if it's impossible to meet in person, I would say definitely talk with them, if not daily. Get a sense of who they are, really ask the hard questions. It's really hard to meet new people and straight off the bat go, what time do you go to bed? But what time you go to bed is the most important question to ask a person you're living with. Be very open to meeting a lot of people. Don't stick to one person. It's the first person you met in college before you moved in. Branch out, meet your roommate. If not meet them, talk to them a lot. Ask the hard questions, go through the hard situations, because in the end of the day, you want to come home to someone that is a friendly face. Or even if you're not that close, I know some people aren't as close with their roommate. It's even better because you hang out with certain people throughout the day, but in the end of the night, you talk about what you did that day. So I think asking the hard questions again and putting that as a priority. I know it's scary to just jump into a new setting and you think you know everything like going into it, but you really got to learn throughout the year. So say do the hard parts first.
Yeah, I had probably one of the worst freshman experiences of any college student there was. Both of my roommates were absolute degenerates, and they had dropped out 3 months, 3 months into the first semester of college. They were done. They didn't even finish the first semester. It was so bad. Room was always trashed, music blasting. I didn't get any sleep that first like semester because of, I mean, I had to be up at 6 a.m. These kids were up all night. It was so bad. And COVID, my coach was like, if I catch you with anything, anywhere, whatever, if you're out of the state, he goes, you're off the team. And that was why I was so cautious about everything. But I definitely say, yeah, I tried to go through it with my roommates, but sometimes it is very difficult. I just say like pry and be very, I guess, forthcoming with what, you want out of a roommate agreement, and just make sure that, everything's good. I definitely say that my sophomore, junior, and senior years were a lot better.
I feel like I should give a positive experience here after this. Mine was a little unique, so I was just assigned to another freshman on the lacrosse team, and so I mean, in a lot of ways, it was super easy because we were on the exact same schedule, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, and we had the exact same social circle. So I understand that that's not going to be the case for most people. But one of the things that I think is really important once you get into the situation, past choosing it, is just be respectful of the person. You kind of get what you get. If you start, needling them about small little things and stealing their stuff, they're going to do the same thing to you. So I think giving respect will get you respect. Obviously, if there are major issues, you got to set some boundaries. But I just think being a nice, respectful person, the person you're living with, just is going to create a good relationship between both of you and something you're going to enjoy having.
For me, I would agree. I had a really positive experience. Like my roommate's one of my best friends at college. But for instance, like I feel like sometimes not being best friends with your roommate is okay. At the end of the day, you're living together. If you are not like great friends, like you're like acquaintances and you like live in a same typical way, I feel like that's really beneficial. Like you always think about when you have a roommate like that they're your best friend. Like of that case, it's like for me, but if it's not, it's totally fine. And I feel like certain people will get a bad roommate and they'll change it and have such a positive experience. I really think it's part of like your like fate in order to get there. I feel like certain things, like just because you had a bad roommate, like you will meet someone in like sophomore year, they're gonna be like, okay, I want to room with them. And that's what happens usually. Like a lot of the people that I hear that they had like an unsuccessful roommate story ends up having a great roommate like for the rest of their like 3 years. So I really think it's like a hit or miss, but definitely try to meet with them on FaceTime or in person, talk to them daily to get a sense of who they are and ask those hard questions.
For me, so like I would have to say, since Fairfield was, you have to go completely random, it's mandatory. I would say you should fill out your random roommate with full honest, like basically, even if there are habits that you, for one, don't like about yourself, you have to be honest about it, because at the end of the day, if you match yourself up with somebody that, that say goes to bed earlier than you, or like is completely on top of things, like, yeah, you might want your room super clean, or like you might want to go to bed at like say 9 or 10 o'clock every night. But at the end of the day, you need to assess where you are and what you normally do, just so, you get along with your roommate cordially and have a relationship with them that can last 4 years and hopefully the rest of your lives.
My advice will be for if you're signing a lease on an off-campus apartment, check for rats before you sign your lease.
Oh, good advice, Ryan Padala, class of 2021.
Learned the hard way.
I have 2 more difficult questions, I promise. So substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or drugs, we know is prevalent these days. Do you believe that Garden City adequately prepared you for this? If not, what could we do better? Take your time to think about that one.
Hi.
Oh, Samantha, right away.
So I feel like I never experienced well, I've never done anything, by the way, I want to say that. But
Mom is here listening.
it's true. She would know. I have a very guilty conscience, so she would know. But so I feel like here, like I've never seen anyone do anything crazy. Like, you know what I mean? And when I went to college, it was crazy. Like I was shocked to see. I did like a summer program and people would talk about, I don't want to say specific things.
You don't have to be
but
specific.
yeah, it was just like, it was crazy because I didn't think people did stuff like that because I went to Garden City. And I think I said it to maybe Amanda. I think I like called her and I was like, I can't believe people are actually doing that. It was a culture shock for sure.
I think it was, same. It's going off of that. I mean, I was in a fraternity in college and you see some crazy stuff. But I definitely say that it's, I never did anything, never tried anything. Same thing, guilty conscience. My father, same thing. I think biggest thing is, it's different when you go into college. It's, and that's also, it's different because it's not really a school related issue. It's more outside, maybe family issues, outside of school type of issue. But I definitely say that it's definitely different in high school than it is in college. It's more prevalent than it is in college. I think in health class, they definitely do provide a lot of the, examples, and they definitely prepare you for that in ways, especially I'm blanking on the group that comes into the classes and they, yes. They came in, they prepare you. And I think that's definitely pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about like Mrs. Grappone, since like me and Amanda helped her a lot out on senior year, but it's definitely like helpful like learning about these things. And also I would like say that like our teachings of what we did in peer ed was very like true and like facts. So like for me, like of course there's a lot of like culture shock in college when it comes to this subject, but I would say that no one doing this stuff would force you to do anything. Like let's say you have a friend that does that stuff. I'm not saying that I do, but like it's just like it's kind of like a personal choice. Like with anything in life, like you have a choice to do something or not, and it's like whether you want to take those risks or something like that. But I would just say that like it's usually like portrayed in like movies and stuff that they're like forcing you to do something, but at the end of the day, like you're in control of like your own boat, I would say.
Last question I have is, we talked about addiction. What about the digital addiction, right? The iPhone, the Android, you all left here and you're on all the social media sites, the draw. How do you refuse it? What's the dismissal? What advice can you give to those that find that it really encompasses their whole life, but is it really that important?
I'll touch on something with that question. Like the first thing that comes into my head is time management. You go to class, you can eat, do your homework for a little, and then it's what classes maybe 3 hours a day or for a first semester freshman or whatever they're trying to acclimate you. And it's really hard to fall into that digital scroll. It's you're away from your hometown friends. You want to see what your family's up to. And I found myself in my room just scrolling on my phone when I had nothing to do all day after my class. It was a Wednesday, nothing's due till next week. So I wouldn't say digital time is bad. Like it is bad all at once. I find myself on my phone way less at school. I know like my friends at home are like, what's up? Like, are you alive? Like, what's happening? I've had many missed calls from my friends. Even when I'm home, like I feel like I'm so distracted by both environments. But what I'm trying to say is like go throughout your day, like give yourself time to yourself. Go for a walk, do what you love, go to the gym. I know I've been starting to get into that recently. Join sport, join a club, hang out with your friends. And then at night, you know, when you're winding down, I don't think it's bad to scroll for maybe 5 minutes. Everyone's gonna do it eventually. They're gonna pick up their phone next to their bed. But time manage yourself, and the addiction is real if you get like fed into it because you have so much time on your hands in college. It's a different type of lifestyle that you're living. But I found myself trying to stay away from it just because it gave me a lot of anxiety in college. I don't, sometimes I get nervous that I'm not doing too much, or I see my friends out, why am I not out, or why am I not getting involved with this or that? But do everything at your own pace and find a routine. Again, I'm big on that, that you can do for yourself. And then at night, if you want to catch up with a friend on a call or your parents back at home, that's totally fine, but don't fall into the cycle. I would say find a routine.
Yeah, I think the way I would put it is you just have to make your like life more interesting and more appealing than just going on your phone. And I think that's a little easier in high school because your days are so regimented and you basically know what you're doing from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. And there's not that much time to fill. And like you said, you know, you have a lot more time to fill in college, so it's more on you. You know, the emphasis is on you to fill your days with things that actually appeal to you and interest you. So I don't think, you know, I wouldn't say I blame the phone for, you know, causing that anxiety and all that stuff. I think it's almost a crutch for dealing with those things that are already there. If you feel unfulfilled, if you feel lonely, if you feel, you know, like your days aren't that interesting, it's really easy to just pull out your phone and look at it to kind of ease that a little bit. So I think it's, you know, dealing with the things that are actually going on in your real life, you know, kind of handles the problem.
So I've recently discovered Do Not Disturb, because I would find myself like like during the school day, like in class, like I would just like go on my phone when I was bored. Cause sometimes it's hard to just like focus for an hour and 45 minutes. And I would find myself like scrolling or like getting a text and like wanting to answer it. And also the big problem was I would go to bed at like 2 a.m. because I would be like scrolling on TikTok or doing like whatever. And so now I put my phone on Do Not Disturb at 9 p.m. every night. So that way, like I don't get the notifications and I will just like eventually shut my phone off at a reasonable time. But now it's summer, so I feel like hopefully we won't go back to that. But yeah, like I feel like Do Not Disturb is the way to go, especially during tests in class and like going to bed. Because that was my thing. It was bad.
For me, I would say like social media has like a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, like creativity, but there's a lot of negatives associated with it. But I would say for me, like you're seeing like what everyone's posting and stuff, that social media is not real. It's not real life. People plan what they're going to post. People do certain things on social media. So definitely try not to compare yourself. Or I know some of my friends like struggle with that, but like just be on your, like, don't go on your phone too much. And don't, when you're seeing everyone post all these certain stuff and you're like, oh, why didn't I do that? Or getting that FOMO or being like, oh, I should have went to that concert. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely don't take social media so serious, I would say.
You know, you all touched on something called anxiety, right? You know, living life elsewhere. But I want to remind you, for those that were here for the 2023 commencement speech that Dr. Sinha said, and I will quote her, she said, take the time to make meaningful connections, be it back home or otherwise, on a regular basis. So I'm going to leave you with that statement. I want to thank you. We all want to thank you for the valuable insight you provided in this hour and 5-minute panel presentation. Thank you very much. I applaud you.
I'm sorry. Sorry, just one quick question. I'm a very old man, not as old as some people, but APA or MLA format?
Depends. MLA for me.
MLA?
APA is like more of like science and social sciences. MLA is more of like English, but I have had to use both. Like even for my science classes, some professors, it's whatever they prefer, like the certain like department. Yeah. And like usually at universities, they'll tell you what they prefer and they'll show you how to do it, just like the library here. So
If you mess it up, it costs too.
Oh, yeah.
So for the non-educators in the room, the rest of the trustees, what does that acronym mean? Trustee Gineco?
My old school, we weren't familiar with MLA. We chose to use APA. The reason why we chose to use it in middle school was because a certain specialized high school that a lot of our children used to strive towards would use APA citation. So basically it's a standard format where you have to use 10 or 12 point fonts. I believe it's Courier, Arial, Times New Roman, a centered title page, standard header on the bottom, 1-inch margins. You would have an abstract, a table of contents, and then each section would have, you know, like when you go in Word and you use header 2, it would be header 2 listed, and you'd have, what was it? What else? Abstract, what else? The conclusion, obviously. What am I missing?
touched on everything.
Every line.
I would just say, yeah, I would just say if you see APA, be scared because it's a lot more work. If you see MLA, you're cruising, you're chilling.
I mean, I will tell you this though, because when I had to go for my degree, and I know it sounds, the APA helped me organize my thoughts much better. Much better. But
Thank you all again for coming tonight. I hope the Zoom, those on the audience also enjoyed this. Sure.
That's my phone on Do Not Disturb. My phone is on Do Not Disturb right now.
Seeing your mother's face while you
Because I would call her at like 2 a.m. and I'd wake her up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure she picked up the phone all calm. Like, thank you so much.
I never played the cross. And he didn't embarrass. I didn't do that. He knew more than me. How are you? What's up, man? How's your mom and dad? Good? Good. You good? Good. Take care. Nice to meet you. Take care. Gotta give us some dirt on your dad. You're so quiet around you. Good man. Nice to meet you.
I know. Oh, good. Yeah. Garden City. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I'll take the 10 page over here.
I don't know, it's something I feel like, you know what, people are missing. And it's worse. Somebody that maybe, you know. Yes, 100%.
Thank you very much.
No, I don't even mean that. I was. No one's. We as teachers took bad goods and our experience.
Thank you. At this time, may I have a motion that the board adjourns the work session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a call to order and opening of the special session. May I have a motion that the Board of Education opens the special session of the Board of Education?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Due notice of today's meeting has been served to each member of the Board of Education pursuant to the requirements of law. All board members, excluding Mrs. Gaffney, Trustee Gaffney, are in attendance. May I have a motion that the Board of Education accepts the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the agenda for June 4th, 2024 special session as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any questions from the Board of Education on the agenda?
None for me.
Are there any citizens' questions on the agenda? Seeing no questions. I have a motion that the Board of Education accepts the following resolution. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves a settlement agreement with the Civil Service Employees Association regarding American Arbitration Association case number 0123009310 and authorizes the President of the Board of Education, the Superintendent of the Schools to execute said agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Future Board of Education meetings. The next Board of Education meeting will be a regular session on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024 at 8:15 at the Garden City High School. At this time, may I have a motion that there be no further business before the Board of Education. The meeting may be adjourned.
So moved.
Second. Aye.